Nepal is such a truly remarkable place. It's this incredibly beautiful land defined by deeply rooted ancient traditions. Yet at the exact same time, it's a place of constant, dynamic transformation. Every single day, communities there face a whole myriad of challenges and opportunities. And observers have noted something deeply universal about what happens there. Basically, whenever sweeping change occurs, humans naturally respond in one of three distinct ways. We either protect, we challenge, or we create. So in today's explainer, we're going to unpack exactly what that means and how it applies not just to Nepal, but literally to any society navigating change.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap. We'll start by looking at general responses to societal change, and then we're going to explore the three essential pillars: preserving what works, challenging the status quo, and creating new possibilities, before finally looking at how we can build the future together. Section 1. Responses to societal change, and understanding the absolute inevitability of change. Whether we're facing a sudden natural disaster or a global pandemic, communities fundamentally react by protecting what exists, challenging what exists, or creating something entirely new.
Which brings us to Section 2, preserving what works, or what we call the pro-establishment response. This really taps into our critical human need for stability and the protection of our heritage.
So what exactly is a pro-establishment response? Well, it's defined as maintaining stability and preserving valuable traditions and systems. It's the basic instinct of those who look at society during a time of upheaval and ask a very vital question: how can we protect what is already working? It's a mindset grounded in the belief that, hey, not everything needs to be tossed out when change happens. Our foundations actually have profound value.
To really ground this concept, let's look at a powerful real-world example. In 2015, Nepal was struck by a devastating earthquake. The toll was just immense. But in the aftermath, local communities and heritage experts worked absolutely tirelessly to restore historic temples. They focused heavily on rebuilding the UNESCO heritage sites in the Kathmandu Valley. Why? Because they understood that preserving their cultural heritage was essential for ensuring the continuity of their identity for future generations. They needed that stability.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the profound emotional weight behind that restoration effort. The quote says, "These temples are not just buildings, they are our identity." It perfectly captures the pro-establishment pillar. It's not just about bricks and wood, right? It's about recognizing that certain structures and traditions hold the very soul of a community. Protecting them means protecting the community itself.
I want to pause for a second and throw a question over to you. What traditions or systems in your own community are worth protecting? Think about the stabilizing forces in your local area, maybe your workplace, or even your family, that provide continuity when the world just gets completely chaotic.
All right, Section 3, challenging the status quo, also known as the disestablishment response. This is where the energy shifts from protection to an urgent, dynamic need for reform. Because preservation is really only one side of the coin, isn't it? Disestablishment is all about challenging existing systems and seeking reform when current structures simply do not serve society anymore. When people feel that the systems designed to support them are actually failing them, this is the response that gets triggered. It means asking the incredibly difficult questions and demanding strict accountability from the powers that be.
Looking back to Nepal, we see this pillar in vivid action. Over recent years, young people and civil society organizations have mobilized in massive ways. And they aren't trying to preserve the current system, they are actively pointing out its flaws. They're advocating for social justice, demanding transparency, and insisting on better governance. They're actively questioning and working to dismantle outdated practices that just no longer serve the people.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core philosophy here. If we don't challenge problems, nothing will improve. It takes an immense amount of courage to stand up and say that the way things have always been done is actually wrong. This pillar is a powerful reminder that friction and opposition are often the necessary catalysts for meaningful societal improvement. So let's turn it back to you again. What needs to change in your community or organization? What are those broken systems or outdated practices in your own life that you've maybe just accepted but actually require someone to stand up and challenge them? Moving on to Section 4. Creating new possibilities, the Transestablishment response. This is where we elevate things to inspire, going far beyond just preserving the past or opposing the present. Transestablishment is the collaborative, forward-looking effort of bringing people together to create new possibilities and innovative solutions. It doesn't just ask, what can we save or what can we tear down? It asks a much bigger question. What entirely new model can we build together that actually benefits everyone?
The source material gives us 3 incredibly powerful examples of this in Nepal. First, post-earthquake, communities didn't just rebuild the exact same damaged schools. Instead, they brought together locals, engineers, and government agencies to design entirely new disaster-resilient schools. Second, look at their community homestays. They didn't reject tradition, nor did they blindly maintain old practices. They blended cultural preservation with modern tourism to completely transform and boost local economies. And third, during the COVID-19 pandemic, youth groups, local governments, and volunteers engaged in an unprecedented collaborative effort to distribute relief to vulnerable families. They completely bypassed old bottlenecks.
It really boils down to 3 core tenets: innovation, collaboration, and new possibilities. What makes the Transestablishment response so special is that it acts as an evolution. It takes the best parts of our heritage, acknowledges the valid critiques of current systems, and synthesizes them into an innovative, collaborative path forward.
Which brings us to our final pillar reflection question. What new possibilities can we create together? Instead of just fighting against a problem or fiercely guarding a process that's slipping away, how can you foster collaborative innovation in your own sphere to build a brand new solution?
Section 5. Building the future together. Synthesizing the 3 pillars. Let's move to and see how this builds. Because a healthy society doesn't just pick one of these pillars. It absolutely requires an ecosystem of all 3.
So the crucial point is how they all interact side by side. You have the pro-establishment pillar, preserving what is valuable, focusing heavily on stability and continuity. But to balance that out, you need the disestablishment pillar to challenge what is not working, focusing on the courage to demand reform. And finally, you have the transestablishment pillar, acting to create what is possible through innovation and collaboration. To really thrive, we need the people who preserve our values, the people who challenge injustice, and the people who pioneer new solutions, all operating at the exact same time.
This leads us to a profoundly true statement from the source text. The future of Nepal depends not only on what we protect or oppose, but on what we dare to create together. And while this was explicitly written about Nepal, this is a universal truth for literally any organization, community, or nation facing transformation. True progress requires a synthesis of all our efforts.
I'll leave you with this final provocative thought. Be a leader who sees possibilities, builds bridges, and creates the future. When you face change in your own life, will you just protect? Will you just oppose? Or will you take all of that energy and dare to create the future?